What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the One More Rep podcast. I'm your host. My name is Joseph Percher. This episode is brought to you by NutriBio Supplements, Crystals Bikinis, and Bio Longevity Labs. Today, until the end of the weekend, Bio Longevity Labs is running a store-wide sale, 40% off if you use my code JP15. Today, I'm joined by my friends, Austin Brown, Josh Jefferson, and we are going to be doing a whole slew of listener questions. I kind of want to do one coming up soon, underrated, overrated. I feel like people have fun with that, and I feel like I have fun with that.
I
But
like,
this is just general questions. So we'll go right into it. Is there anything training related that you've changed your mind on or revisited recently? That's a good one.
Fuck yes.
Tell me.
Fuck yes. For a long time, I was, low volume, high intensity, no failure reps, no partial reps, anything like that. And then the last offseason, I grew better than I ever did, and it was simply because I didn't focus on the logbook. I turned around and I just went based almost intuition wise, in the gym. Like I had my set program, I followed the program, but instead of saying like, all right, I got 6 plates on the leg press last week for 8. I got to get 9 this week. I was like, we're gonna see what the hell happens, and we're gonna go until I can't do another one. And that was like a game changer for me. It took the shackles off, for
Mm.
lack of a better term.
You also, I feel like this is a common thing that I hear from people that have worked with one of the coaches that are crazy logbook obsessed. Like you worked with Kuba, and he is like a freak for the logbook. Every little thing is detailed. I mean, I've seen his check-in sheets. He has people like logging how many shits a day they take and what each one looks like and all this different stuff.
Hmm.
So people, when they come out of an experience like that, you kind of feel a sense of relief just going hard in the opposite direction. So that makes total sense. And he's gone.
oh,
He'll be
I,
back.
I didn't know Josh like trained like that really, but I think that's like kind of one of the caveats that people get stuck in with progressive overload is like they're like, I'm only gonna beat the numbers. Like I'm a big progressive overload guy, but like I don't do any RP RIR scaling at all. Like a lot of people that utilize progressive overload are like utilizing blocks where they're implementing that. And like to me, it's just like the reason for that is like managing fatigue and like recoverability and all these things, but it's like the objective should be to like produce maximal stimulus each session, in my opinion, and it should we use the logbook to ensure that that progress is happening in the right way, and then gauge volume off of how it's progressing or not. But I think people get so stuck in like I just have to get this number. It's like really, it's like how hard of a set can you do, and like then you're just logging that to make like you're having that data from last week to say, did I improve? How much did I improve? At what rate am I improving? So I that makes sense. I think I kind of did that a long time ago. So when he said that, I was like, oh, I remember when I went through that phase of kind of doing that.
Yeah.
But it was like I thought like if the book was moving up, right, it was like that was gonna produce muscle, but what produces muscle is stimulus. And
I did it too, man. I did, top set, back off set, and this must go up on the logbook for I've talked about it, like kind of like the intermediate part of my competitive bodybuilding journey. And I probably had like 4 years where I made just like minimal like for somebody that was enhanced and as locked into the lifestyle as I am, like it wasn't much progress, especially when you compare it to 5 or 6 years later, and I'm all these years in. And in the past 2 years, I've probably put on 25 pounds of stage weight. You know what I mean?
when you train like that, was it like always to failure, or were you just trying to say,
Always.
okay,
No,
well,
no, always to failure. But like, um, man, I just think that the volume was so low that it wasn't like I think the volume was so low and my skill to train was not where it is now. So it's like, okay, yeah, if you watch me in the gym, you might say, oh man, this guy's training hard. Like he's going until he can't anymore. But it's like it was a lot of sloppy looking shit too.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because that was the point I was going to bring up to this question as my answer was just like, taking the time to step back every now and again to just audit your execution within
Yep.
your intensity, because like, especially now, like this is when I tend to see this happen is about that like anywhere from like 5 to 8 week mark, out the gate in a big push. Like you're training really hard and you're really enjoying it and intensity's through the roof. But like if you get usually between those weeks, if you just stop for a minute and say, I need to pull the weight back 10% this week and like revisit my execution, like I think that's paramount to have that like somewhat of a self audit from every about like 6 to 8 weeks within your training, just to reduce the load and like really revisit tempo. Because to me, in the hierarchy of like what matters when it comes to all of this is like how you're moving the weight, and like the intensity part is actually lower than that, even though it's like I'm like a high intensity, I preach that, driving into the ground. But that's with the preface that your tempo and your execution and the way you're performing the movement's perfect. So I just recently did that, is why it made me think of it. So
It's that good reset that I've preached this to people too. Like I just had Kels do this in the gym. Like she had gotten to a point where she's been doing like a Smith squat as a squat variation, and like getting like hitting like all time PBs every time in the gym. And then I watched last week and I was like, this is good. You're getting really strong. I'm like, but this is reaching a point where it's gonna look pretty sloppy pretty soon. Like it's gonna look pretty fast.
yeah,
And it's because it's the logbook is going to go up at all costs. And it was like right at that perfect time. So I said, I think this might be a time to reset this. Maybe you re-challenge yourself within the same movement with a pause. So then today she does it and it's like, okay, some of the weight has to come off, but then every rep is a 2 count pause in the hole. And it's like a totally different, like you've given yourself all this new runway now to progress as a bodybuilder. Like we are bodybuilding, instead of just like, okay, slap some more weight on there and fuck my knees and my hips. Like, no, like she just bought herself probably another 8 or 10 weeks of progress using less load now.
yeah, I guarantee she will feel different tomorrow and in the
She was
coming.
smoked today, dude. She was like, she comes over, like her face all lit up, and she's like, oh my God, my legs.
Yeah, so it's like load is not king. It's not. Period.
It's
It's
not. I
simply
think that's a logbooker's mistake.
it's
Is
it's
load
the
is king. Yeah.
yeah, it's the absolute biggest caveat of progressive overload. And like I absolutely, preach for progressive overload. That's how I have everyone trained. But I always make that point of like, don't let that take over. Like you have to
I
keep.
think half of it is the name, progressive overload. That's why I try to say to people, not to sound like a dork or be like, argue semantics, but progressive stimulus as just a reminder to people. Like, it's like, okay, like, did this week, did you do all things the same, but then you paused in the hole? Like, that's more stimulus. Did you add reps? Was the tempo different or better? Like, these are all tools to progress. Like the load is just a tool. I don't give a shit if I'm squatting 4 plates. Like I'm not trying to move raw weight. I'm a bodybuilder. This is simply something to gauge how much progress I'm making. It's nothing else.
Yeah, and there's ways you can like prolong that from happening, right? Like make your execution extremely uniform across the board. Like something I'll have someone do is like I'm requiring a half second to a second pause in both in ranges, right? And
Yeah.
that now it's like week to week, like there's no getting around that. So it's like that's going to make the movement very uniform, where we're
Yeah.
not at the by week 4 we're not causing a ballistic movement in the bottom of our squat because we
Right.
put extra 50 pounds on, so yeah, all good points there for sure.
I took this. So is there anything that I've changed or changed my mind on or revisited? I'm constantly changing my mind. So it might sound like I'm like contradicting myself sometimes, but I'm just constantly coming back to things. And I always try to keep an open mind. I try to never say never about most things other than like DNP and Lasix. Um, but training wise, I've actually come back to um, like intensifiers, where for a long time I only did straights. I probably had a couple year run where I only did straight sets. And it's like, drop set. Like I'll just rest 2 minutes and then do another real set. Um, but my sessions with like doing the higher volume approach have definitely gotten a little bit long. And wearing this like glucose monitor, I see that at the end of my workout, sometimes I'm very low and I like need to go eat. So I've started doing like a drop set on isolation movements as like my final set instead of just another set. And it's been great. I mean, it's like, again, it's like less load, probably just as much or more stimulus. It's time efficient. And then I leave with like a sick pump, which is part of bodybuilding. I don't care what the nerds say.
I'm a huge fan, man. I use
Yeah.
intensity across the board and a large number of them too. So I think they're great for all the points you made. You know,
They're fun too, man. I can remember going into the gym in my early days, especially if I was like training with a buddy or something. And it was just like, I would just try to come up with the most heinous shit that we could come up with to kill each other. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, exercise 1, this is going to be a triple drop set. Exercise 2, we're going to do a rest pause with 2 attempts and then drop on and it's like, man, like I miss, at a certain point, you have to do what is required more than what you want to do to make progress, I think. And that's like a maturation that has to happen. But also, it doesn't hurt to get back to certain things that enjoy training or that you enjoy.
and now that you understand it more, making it make sense in the right areas of your
Right.
training, all of these things. But yeah, I mean, it's something I love about them is that if you don't know how to train with intensity, it will teach you accidentally because inevitably you're not going to drop the load enough on a set or something, and you're going to hit a wall that you're like, and then it's like, oh, that's failure. It's like
This is over. Yeah.
what we're going after there,
This
right?
won't move anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Those reps are the ones where that's what we're hunting down the whole session.
This is kind of a similar question, but I think it's a good one. So this guy says, what bro science thing do you believe in? Maybe one from training, one from gear, and one from nutrition each.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you have? Anything? Bro science?
Yeah, test is best. I don't think
Dude,
that's bro
that was
science though. That's
literally the
just
gear one that I thought of for this. Word for
yeah,
word.
that's just the easy one. Nutrition wise, you said that you do believe in.
Do believe in.
Yeah, chicken and rice should be the base of your diet.
Okay.
It's just
That's a good
simple.
one.
And then training wise, brawn over brain and that one, just go in and go fucking hard. It's really hard to fuck up if you just give everything you got.
Man, and those high effort guys always ended up being the bigger guys, like than the
Yeah, like
overthinker, like science guys. I'm sorry, but it's like, man, you give me somebody with just a lot of heart and a lot of effort. Eventually, they're going to come around to where their level of training skill is high as well. But you can't, like, I could teach that to you. I can teach you execution. I can't teach you grit and heart and like having a stubborn mentality in terms of being competitive.
yeah,
Yeah.
give me Ronnie Coleman over Jeff Nippert any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that one for training for sure. Um, what else you got, Josh? Is that everything? Did you cover the
That
three?
was one of each. Yeah, you're up.
Yeah, that was one of three.
I think with drugs, like what I probably would I think makes sense here would be like that like using AIs is not like the worst thing in the world.
Yes.
Like some people demonize it to be. It's like anything, just use it the proper way and don't abuse it. Yes, in a like if you're crashing, E2 and utilizing a lot of AIs, then yes, this is going to be really harsh for lipids and so on and so forth. But utilizing them correctly is fine. I would say nutrition, like utilizing meal plans, is definitely a more ideal approach than like a macro type approach. Just for predictability and the less variables involved with our diet, like with all parts of our bodybuilding, the better. So that's something I'm really big on with all my clients. And then training, I don't know. Yeah, I think you guys made a good point with that one. I can't really, I don't, I've, I'll tell you, like honestly, like with some of this new science based training and stuff, like I don't even know what any of it is because I just don't pay attention to a lot of it. But I know there's like newer stuff, and then kind of like even just talking about what we just spoke about with the logbook, like that's probably a more science based, less bro science thing. Like that I do believe in, but like I think there is a huge lack of intensity with people that like strictly look at the data.
Yeah, I obviously had these questions ahead of time, and every single thing that crossed my mind as a possible answer, you guys touched on all of them. The first one that I thought of was test is best, because that's just like, and it goes with what you said, like test is best. I'm going to run that motherfucker high, and if required, I'm going to run AIs with it and not think twice about it. And now that's like, outdated and insane to say. Um, and training wise, that's another thing too. I've really started to limit like what I feed into or pay attention to online. Like I used to dig into these posts where people, science guys and meatheads, are arguing and going back. And I just have really started to just disregard all of it. Like I will see something where some, 140-pound kid has some cuff around his upper arm and he's doing pull downs with fucking 3 different cables off on, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to engage in this. I'm just out on this. Like, this isn't relative to anything that I'm going to do or teach or talk about. And I'm out on it. But
It's funny.
man, I honestly, when I read this, I truly feel like there are more bro science things that I do believe in than don't. Like my list might be smaller on the things that I don't believe in, because there's just been like these sentiments, let's call them that, like, are bro science, are around for a reason. Like these things work in real life, and I don't need science to come in 30 years later and say, well, actually in a study we did find that people that are eating higher protein build more muscle. It's like, yeah, well, no fucking shit. Like,
Yeah.
it was previously believed that only 30 grams of protein per meal could be assimilated, and anything else after that was a complete waste. And then we did a study, and there's actually no upper limit. People are assimilating up to 100 grams per meal. And it's like, oh, man, it's not like there are 400 videos of Ronnie, Jay, Dorian, all these guys eating 1 pound of chicken per meal.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot more. Like I never I try to make it a point to never like turn my nose up at anything that's bro science, because that is just anecdotal experience from people that have had success. So it would be silly to disregard those things. Diet wise, like you said, I'm a big believer in food sources and quality. I think if you're talking about in terms of general weight loss or weight gain, macros are fine, and a calorie in is a calorie out. All that I would agree with for the general person. If you're talking about how a physique looks, there are going to be changes from one food source to the other. Even if you separate the good food sources, I look different on strictly rice products during my prep than if I start doing oats and potatoes and different things that are more satiating and fibrous. My midsection looks distended. I don't look nearly as sharp. I can feel that my digestion has slowed down. Like, okay, calorie in, calorie out. Yeah, maybe it gets me the same result. It doesn't give me the same look. So I'm a believer in that. And then I'm also a believer in meal timing. I absolutely think if we're talking about like competitive bodybuilding, small margins, 1% between you and the guy that was second place, I absolutely think being on the ball consistent all year in the off season, making sure that you get your meals in, you're up early eating, done in plenty of time before bed, in bed at a good time, immediately post workout or intra workout, all these different things I think absolutely matter. With gear, I would say, this is another thing that people have tried to like say is not true. And it's like, oh, well, technically, like, but man, I think more is better. I think anyone that's telling you that more isn't better or more is more, like, it is just trying to sell you something. Probably like they're trying to sell you on their course or for a blood work consult or something. Like, if we're going to equalize for everything in terms of health and blood markers and blood pressure and all this different stuff, like what gets the results? More gets more results. point
Yeah.
blank.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that point with the caveat that health is still good, right?
no, of course. I mean, a healthy body is a productive body. So if you're just tanking all your health markers in an effort to take more drugs, eventually you're gonna hit a wall and you're not gonna look good and your health is gonna be fucked up and you're not gonna be able to pursue this consistently as well. But in general, you take two healthy people and one guy only ever takes 800 total milligrams and another guy is healthy on 2100 milligrams. You better believe that second motherfucker is going to be white bigger. Um, so, and then training wise, man, this is going to be controversial, I think, but I have in the past couple of years, I've come around on the idea that to a degree, depending on how you are training and what type of body part and movement it is, as you get into your prep, I think doing more can be better. I'll give you an example as to why I think that. There are certain body parts that I've had injuries on that also coincidentally are body parts that I've struggled to grow that I cannot do top set back off type training. I cannot safely bring one individual set to the level of intensity that allows me to do low volume. So then when I get into prep for some of these body parts like chest, if I start doing more, I hold my chest and my chest looks better as I get leaner. Like I cannot load up an incline Smith with 4 plates and do 2 sets and then be done with it. Something is going to tear. But if I do 4 sets of flies, 4 sets in a drop set of a machine press, and then 2 sets of like push-ups to failure, that's going to hold my chest better than if I try to force this other style of training.
Do you keep that style like for those body parts in the off season and it changes a little bit?
It's still more. Like
Yeah.
I find that the more that I do, because it's just stimulus, again, it's just a measure of stimulus. Like I can't garner that stimulus from 2 sets. It's just not going to happen for me anymore. So then it's got to be eight sets, 10 sets, 12 sets a session.
Right.
Do you also believe that because of where you have your food at, like the nutrients are partitioning there better because you're using more energy there?
I think so. I mean, it would make sense that you're pushing more nutrients to that body part.
In theory. Yeah.
In theory, yeah. I mean, bro science, right? Like this is just what I've seen in real life.
Taking from your budget, but
Yeah.
yeah. No,
But then, but it's also done thoughtfully. Like I'm in prep, so I'm going to do 30 sets for everything. Like I know I can hold my legs on 4 sets, so I
right.
have room to go do 12 sets of chest. I
Yeah.
know my back is going to stay big on 8 sets, or maybe even less sometimes.
Yeah. Do you is your attempt throughout a prep to like manage volume based on how things are maintaining performance, or is it more of like
For sure, for most of those other body parts, yeah.
okay.
Like the healthy big body parts, yeah. I'm log booking my big rows, my big pull downs, my leg presses, my RDLs, all those big core movements that I'm still healthy to do. I'm trying to hold on to every pound and rep the entire, and I will probably progress until I'm 3 or 4 weeks out. I mean, it was a little different this year because I was I was ready at 4 weeks out. So it was more like at 6 weeks out, things were like, all right, I probably should chill on this. But um, those other body parts for sure. But like my arms and my chest, I just train like a 90s California bodybuilder.
Go burn it up.
Just go burn it up. And it's like I allowed myself to do that this year. And it was the best that those body parts ever looked. Whereas
Yeah.
in years past, I just tried to force that same style. And then by the end, because I'm doing low volume and it's not much intensity, it's like these body parts are getting smaller.
Yeah. I think it's a good point to make in general. Like I think with the logbook, if you're utilizing, I think it makes sense to put more stock into the logbook and that data with certain things and almost like not let that be a mental restriction in other movements, like smaller body parts that respond to higher volume and stuff. It's like grab a weight that you doesn't be challenging and like tear it up.
Dude, I'll do sets of 30 for rear delts. and I get off of them and they're screaming. You know what I mean?
And they're
Yeah. Powerlifter switching to bodybuilding. How would you set up training? Erectors are good, but my actual back and arms are behind. Any suggestions?
I've had this before.
Yeah, you've done well with guys like this.
Yeah. So it's first off is like learning the execution and tempo of how to train like a bodybuilder is the biggest thing. So like some of the things we talked about earlier with like implementing pauses in the lengthen and shorten ranges and utilizing an explosive concentric and really learning how to get the most out of an eccentric is the biggest one when they make that transition, and not just like moving weight like really fast through
And then dropping it. Yeah.
yeah, and then literally no tension, because having the realization that we're actually like getting more out of that portion of the rep is very important. But like for those specific body parts, like using like chest supported things is going to be really important for someone with like a really well developed set of erectors. Like you're not going to barbell row from like the floor, like do Pinleys and stuff and like continue to hammer away at the erectors. Like get on some things that are chest supported and like handle a really manageable weight and learn how to move it perfectly and feel the actual muscle working is going to be a big one. So like I could go further with like, movement patterns and things like that, but that's like the long and the short of it. Learn how to do that for all of the musculature of the back, where it's the rear delts, upper back, low lats, thoracic lats, and then leave the erectors alone. So I wouldn't do much, like RDLing and stuff for your hamstrings, like anything from the ground, like even like a unilateral, like dumbbell row, like where it's non-chest supported. Like basically stability is going to be this person's best friend. So they're not utilizing, stabilizing themselves, like essentially as many movements as you can make yourself a piece of the machinery and just work the target muscle is going to be best. And then same kind of thing for arms is just like learning how to move that weight with the like that style of tempo and execution that I spoke about. And then a lot of usually when I've gotten athletes like this before, like they are savages in the gym and can move like crazy weight, but they don't understand the concept of bodybuilding intensity and what that looks like. Like for their accessory movements, it's usually like it's heavy shit, but like they're gonna rock out 10 reps like faster than you can blink, and like the set's over. And it wasn't
And then they're done.
yeah, and it wasn't to failure, right? So learning how to take a manageable weight to mechanical failure where form breaks down, like understanding that, mixing it with how to move the weight, and then like usually using those tips for back is kind of where I would start. That was a mouthful.
No, it's good.
I have a like little formula I use because I have my one of my best friends like power lifts. And he trained with me for a very early prep. So like in order to get him into like used to feeling muscles, especially back, we start with like an activation technique where I kind of just put him up against the wall and have him flex his elbows into the wall.
Mm.
So like his back
Like
is to the wall
it's
and
to
he's
his
just
back.
pressing into
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And then we'd start like the first exercise was like 50 to 100 reps. Like
Yep.
just get as much blood as possible. And then kind of like Austin was saying, like external constraints put you in a position where like literally nothing else can work the muscle or work the movement. And like I would also, most powerlifters that I know don't have any sort of endurance. So it was one of those things that it was like, yeah, I'm going to put you through a set of 50 to 100. You're just going to kind of have to deal with this for a while. And then in our actual working sets, it was like, if I was shooting for 6 to 10, he's shooting for 15 to 20. Like just making him do more allowed him to kind of understand how to actually train the back. And like he's already got a pump from that. So it's just he's using that energy system he's not really used to at that point. And it just kind of taught him how to feel everything. So
All those are, that's a great point. I think too, part of his whole program, because you pointed out like that he just doesn't have the endurance, he's going to need to get in good cardio shape. Cardio is going to need to be part of his plan all year. Austin, I love the point about chest supported rows, because not only that, like not only does this guy say that he has big erectors, but knowing that that's the case and knowing this guy's a power lifter and it's just the leverages and things are thought about differently. There's a good chance he's maybe got not the prettiest midsection or not the tightest, smallest midsection. And we don't want to risk that growing any bigger. So again, like even me right now, I'm at a huge priority that I'm determined to do this year is make another leap in size, but not only maintain, but improve the look of my midsection. And so I am out on a lot of movements that I normally like doing. And I'm solely doing like either chest supported or machine or cables, especially for back. And then I think just learning like how to train the different parts of your back, like not even learning how to train it, but first you have to know the mentality or how you're thinking about it. Like, how are you separating is this an upper back row? Is this a lower lat pull down? Like, know what that feels like. And then I love the idea of doing like super high reps, like Josh talked about. And then on top of that, I would even love to hear like high frequency. Like he's identified these couple body parts as being real priorities. Train your back 3 times a week because training is a skill. And the more frequently you can do that, the better and quicker that you're going to get at that.
I love the point about like understanding mechanics, like watch videos on like understanding like the action of the lat and like what different upper arm paths like engage.
What does it look like? Yeah.
Cueing, whether that maybe that's hiring a pretty well advanced bodybuilder, like from a muscularity standpoint, like having them put you through a back session where they explain some of these things.
Travel and go meet up with a good bodybuilder and train with them.
Yeah, I think, dude, even, doing one session of that, a new person that's like truly trying to learn can take away like 100 things that you can carry over into all your other.
I think back to like, that was the example that this guy used, but I see that time and again, anytime that I can link up with one of my online clients, 99 out of 100 times, I'm like, we're going to train back. And probably the biggest recurring theme with the people that stay with me for a long time is that by the end of it, or when they're leaving or a year in, whatever, their back is big time improved, because it's just, man, it took me 10 years how to figure it out. So then once you get there and you have someone that can help you do it, that is crucial to get, like, if you can get in, I mean, even there's people that I help all over the place, same with you guys, but even just sending them like voice notes or videos back is a big help. But if you can get that one in-person session, I more times than not find the back to be the most beneficial thing to physically touch or show someone how to do. Because some of the other, like legs is just very straightforward. I mean, quads is as straightforward as it's ever going to get. Like just bring it all to the floor and back up. And it's more just pain tolerance than anything. Like the back is just a lot more complex, and it's basically half of the muscle mass of your torso, like that you're going to be training in one day.
No, I agree with that fully, man. And something else I noticed with people in back is like the ability to, like, if you watch someone, like if they send you push session videos, like they have a pretty easy time like going to failure. Like they'll just push it down,
they'll just press until it doesn't move anymore.
They can't, right? Yeah. Almost every new person I get like creates drag in the concentric when they're training back to like feel it. Yeah. It's like move that shit swiftly through the zone until it will not move. And I mean, explode. So like, but that comes back to like understanding the mechanics and like what path do I want that upper arm to move in that speed through the zone. So like, back it's definitely the hardest for most people to understand. So getting with somebody that could do that for you and put their hands on you and speak through different cues would be huge for this guy.
And I think with arms too, knowing that you're coming from a powerlifting background, it probably was never a major priority. I would just say more volume. I think you probably just haven't done much direct arm training. That's a lot of the times you see powerlifters that are just super thick down the middle, like big chest, big erector, like big middle column of their back, probably good quads. And then there's like nothing that sweeps off of them, right? Like it's like there's no delts, there's no arms. So just do more. I would just do more. That's one thing. Like for arms, I always say, I feel like people could probably do, like, if you're unhappy with your arms, if what you've always done hasn't resulted in Nick Walker arms, like try more.
Yeah, they're hard to it's hard to get them sore for more than 24 hours. Like they can
Rare.
they can handle a lot of work. So take it to that limit, you know.
What do you guys think about a 3-to-1 test to trend ratio for the off season?
It's a bad idea. Because like I really wouldn't want to see your train over like maybe 100 probably,
Yep.
and you definitely want to use more than 300 milligrams of test. So, there's old school thought processes that would drive train up 6, 7, 8, 900, and we spoke about that plenty here, and it's just like not something we utilize. If I use trend in off season setting at all, it'd probably be that for the first maybe 4 to maximum 6 to 8 weeks of a push, or
At the
oppositely
end.
at the
Yeah.
end, kind of at that like visuals look like shit. I'm not really getting stronger. Everything
Yeah.
sucks. Just to push a little further, and that might be max 10 megs a day, but probably more like starting at 5.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think in
the
the I
same
think in the
opinion.
off season, like one thing that doesn't, and I don't know that we've even really talked about it much, but I've thought about this. Like one, you're gonna have people like me that no matter the dose, it's gonna affect your sleep, which is never a good thing, especially when you're getting big and getting heavy and all this stuff. Um, but also I get and I hear this as feedback a lot, more so than what I experience with myself actually, is kind of like the acid reflux and um, like digestion disruption that you get from Tren, and it doesn't take a lot to do that either. So to me, it just never sounds like a good idea. We got a separate question about using Clen and Tren in a long off season cleanup. I think that's okay. Like if you're hell bent on taking 2 years away from the stage, I don't think it's a good idea for that whole time to be a surplus. So at some point, if you're doing a 4, 6, 8 week like aggressive push to just get body fat off as fast as possible so you can get back to growing, yeah, I think bringing some Clen in is totally fine. And if you have a dose of Tren that is like a modest amount that is okay with you, especially because you're presumably eating less and doing more output and all this stuff, I think that's an okay, like you talked about it, where it's almost like the last 4 weeks of a mini cut in the off season or something like that. I think that's totally fine.
I think it's okay, unless like you're also utilizing that time as a down period to like really reset health markers. I don't think like
Yeah,
running
definitely don't cruise on
trend makes sense
Tren.
there. But if it
That's
was,
the
a
Dan Green
different
move.
time period of the push where like you had some runway to utilize androgens
I know two pretty prominent people. Oh, my internet's out. You guys got me?
back now, you
Oh, I'm
Gotcha.
back.
pause for a minute.
Probably for the best because I said something I probably shouldn't have said. So, I know two prominent people in our industry actually that stayed on Trend. Like you were basically talking there about cruising on Trend. I know people that two people. I'll tell you guys after. Don't DM me and ask people. I'm not going to tell you. But I'll tell you guys. Two people that stayed on Trend like long term, and like I'm talking years. Um, and it fucking worked. Both of these guys, one guy's a bodybuilder, one guy's a power lifter. Both of them like crazy leapfrogged in that time period, like where they were when they started versus where they ended up. Um, one of the guys was a like world record holder in powerlifting, and no, not him. Oh, I've heard that he did this. I'm talking about people I know personally, Josh. Um,
Bro,
this is a guy I spoke with. This guy is powerlifter. And I remember being at the Arnold one year and like all those guys come in to, hit the big lifts at the cage for animal. And I had just started like a new cycle or like just escalated to a new amount, right? And he's like, "Hey, how's everything going, man?" Because I managed all the athletes, so I had relationships with him and stuff. And he's like, "How's everything going, man?" And I'm like, "Good. I just started X, Y, and Z. I'm up to, 1,200 total milligrams." And he was like, "Oh, is that a lot?" And I was like, "Oh, for me." I'm like, "Yeah, for me." Like, I was like, "Fuck." He's like, "Oh man, I've been on Trend for 3 years straight." And I was like,
Did you give? Did
"Really?"
you say
big
dosages?
face, stone cold.
He didn't say dose, but when you know, like just the way that the whole thing went down and what he looks like and everything, I'm guessing that he didn't have his toe just in the water for three. Like I'm thinking he was on trend for 3 years. Um, and then we all know a guy in the bodybuilding world that did something similar to this, never got blood work, had like a crazy jump where he put like 40 pounds of tissue on in 2 years. And I can remember publicly, like he posted the photos about this. This was years ago. He posted the photos like, oh, I did this in 1 year or whatever. And fucking John Meadows of all people called him out and was like, I know how you did this. I know what this look is, and I know how you did this. And he's like, and this is not the way to do it. You're gonna regret this. Like publicly. And I was like, fuck. Yeah.
Father Meadows came after you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which he was no saint either, from what I've heard. But so if you're catching his eye, that's wild. But
Yeah. I knew someone that actually did that, and like they ended up having like a really bad digestive issue from like the histamine
that's
issue.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it pretty much sidelined them.
See, it's just not worth it, dude. Like I feel like when it comes to drugs at this point, I've had different because I have documented my rebound and I bring up this spreadsheet and it's got every different drug listed and why I'm using this amount or whatever. And so I get all sorts of messages from people that are wondering how I go about my experiments, or what do I think about adding this, or did I ever consider adding this? And it just comes down to, at this point, like I just want to use the drugs that make me feel good and that don't take away from my bodybuilding at all, because they're all going to work. All the drugs work, especially when you're putting a big list of them in a pot together. So I just want to find the combinations and the recipe that just allows me to feel good, to be healthy and perform good. And that it's in terms of sleep, digestion, training, everything, mood. And I just want to get in and I just want to get out. Like there's nothing that any of these one drugs offer that is like must have, to the point that like I'm okay with my digestion or my sleep just being permanently fucked up in order to use it.
No, I'm in that same exact boat, man. Because there's plenty of ways you can feel good and make plenty of progress.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we'll do two more quick ones. Where does Joe Palacios back double rank amongst the best?
Top three.
Okay.
Nick, Derek, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Nick and him. I like both of theirs better than Derek's, which is actually
I do too. I
insane.
do too. I
Yeah,
think both of those are more complete. I think Derek has the best back in bodybuilding. If we're talking, this guy said back double, meaning the entire pose. Both Joe and Nick are in another league in terms of the completeness, the adductors, the glutes, the hamstrings, everything. Joe, I was at Tampa, dude, and Joe was mind-boggling. I'm sitting there and I'm like, is everyone else realizing like what the fuck we're looking at here? Like this is show-stopping from a size, conditioning. His tan is perfect. The posing is perfect. Everything is flawless. And you know what? For being kind of a wider hipped, structured guy from the front, from behind, you would never know. It's the same thing with Nick, too, where it tapers down to this tiny little waist. Bro, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is like generational. This is an insane back double. So I would agree. I would have Nick's, I think, is first, and then I would have Joe's before I had Derek's, because Derek has the insane back. I don't think his arms are great, and I don't think the development of his legs nearly matches it. It almost looks like two different bodybuilders. If you covered the top and the bottom, like, you know, especially he's got the crazy glutes, but the way that he poses them and pulls them under really hard, there's a huge gap to where his legs look very thin. And a lot of times he's so focused on squeezing those glutes. If you guys notice, sometimes when he's on stage, he doesn't squeeze his hamstrings at all. There's not a single line in his hamstring. And, you know, that's not me knocking him personally. That's just what's going on with his physique. So I would agree. I think Derek's is still third best, and it's incredible. But those two have kind of stepped forward, I think, as the top two.
I wonder if Derek will possibly change that pose after the showings this year. He should.
You know what? Because his glutes are so good, like why not try like the little bit of a higher hip placement where you get your adductors in there?
Just turn the glutes on. They don't have to be fucking 120%.
Yes. Well, they look like they're on at 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
So it's like his like adductor pop faint squeeze of the glutes is probably still world class.
Dude, I bet he looks nuts like that.
Yeah.
Because he has short legs. If he brought his adductors into that pose, it would look crazy.
And his legs have improved from the front, I think, over the past couple showings as well.
I think it's mostly because of his adductors.
Adductors, yeah.
They have gotten bigger. So if he brought those into the back pose, it'd be really nice.
Okay, last one. And it's a little quick one. We'll see. Aside from daily vacuums, what are other ways to tighten the waist and train the TVA?
I would say planks.
Planks was the first thing that I was going to say. I just started doing. I've talked about my waist every single day since the show. I don't put a bite of food in my mouth without doing some type of cardio and a full round of vacuums. And the past week, besides the vacuums, I added planks to that morning routine as well. And I already visually see a difference. And I'm like heavier and higher in body fat, and I can see the difference.
The only other thing I would say is hollow holds. Like on
Is
a
that like with your
GHD,
feet
like
up?
laying up. No, so how I would do it personally is like we have a GHD here.
Yeah.
So you lock your feet into the GHD, you put your butt on the half moons, and then you
Oh, you're
literally
sitting up.
just stay in a you stay in a flat position, almost like I guess a reverse plank is the only way I can
Okay.
describe it.
Oh, you're holding yourself up. I got what you're
Yep.
saying. Yeah, that is almost like a reverse plank. You're in a different position.
Yeah, I like those recommendations for sure as far as like direct training. And I think like it's important to note just like you need to improve like your overall consciousness of the TVA just throughout the day. Like something I do
Yes.
like when I'm driving somewhere, I will like try to hold it back, which is just like planking. It's the same shit, but
Yeah.
just like throughout the day and like try not to catch yourself where it's all just
Loose.
all the time. I think that's the biggest contributor for widening the waist is people, and you get up in the 4,000 5,000 calories and all day long the stomach and the TVA is just completely uncontracted. But doing that
Stretched.
doing that training work will help develop that neuromuscular connection, so you are doing it more subconsciously throughout the day, and that's kind of the idea.
That's probably the easiest application to do it because it's just the tiniest thing, but all day. Like I remember doing this, and it's funny because the last 2 years is when I've gotten my biggest, and I've completely forgot about this. But for years, probably 10 years ago, I remember hearing Milo say, "You're a bodybuilder. Your belly button should be glued to your spine at all times. Right now, I'm sitting here, tight abs, tight waist." And it just stuck with me. And I did that everywhere that I went. Like if I was at my job, if I was in the grocery store, I just had a meal, like you said, driving, I was always like crunched and braced at my core. And I absolutely think it made a difference. And then the past 2 years, I've gotten bigger, had to eat more food, and I also have I became less cognizant of my midsection, and it wasn't how I want. It was not as good as I would have liked it this year, honestly. In terms of control, when I'm in the shot, it still looks great, but in between, like it needs to be better, and it will. So yeah, all those things help a lot. I think they're all they're zero cost things to do. My little morning routine literally takes me like 7 minutes or something like that, like to do a full round of 10 hard vacuums and then 3 planks. And then you're just doing, like you said, basically a upright plank all day. Like just be mindful of your midsection. So
I actually got
all
one
right,
more.
guys. Oh, go ahead.
So when you're doing like a leg press or something, instead of thinking, and this might not get you, this might get Joe riled up, but when you're doing like a leg press, instead of like breathing through your belly, think about breathing through your chest cavity while keeping your abs glued to your spine. Like it's going to keep your brace a little bit tighter, but you're not allowed, like pressure is going to build up in your abs. If you have pressure for a long enough time, it's going to expand. So if you're like consciously thinking as you're doing the set, especially like later in the set when those reps are really hard and all you want to do is get the fuck out of the machine, like just keeping your stomach tight and breathing into your chest. I found that helped me a lot during prep.
Okay.
And then I was able to pull a vacuum afterwards. I could always tell in my pictures post workout if I didn't do that during a leg day because my waist looked significantly bigger.
It's kind of wild, like you just said. It's kind of wild how immediate you see a return from doing stuff like this. Literally, like from within 2 days of starting doing them as like a daily non-negotiable again, it was like my control is better when I did go to do them the next time, and it also looks better visually. So it's nice because if you do put in the effort, it's noticeable. So, all right, guys, that's where we're gonna wrap it. Thanks for everybody that followed along. For Josh, for Austin, I'm Joe Percher. This was the One More Rep podcast, and until next time, we are out.